Well, thank you, and I appreciate your being here very much. We are excited to begin your journey as a family, or if you've been with us, to continue that journey with another son. I'm Brad Joya. I think I know many of you through the process, and I wanted to say, after talking with Kit Lecklider in the admissions office earlier today, that she reminded me of just how great you were during the COVID-19 process, and that we felt and feel really good about this incoming group of students and families, because how you dealt with us at a time that was more complicated. Your flexibilities, I think, say a lot about what we hope for in terms of the next years at MBA. This is a relatively quick program. We're not going to keep you long tonight. And I'm trying to illustrate that we try to begin our programs when we say we're going to begin them, because we want to respect your time and keep on time throughout the night. So I'll make some comments. Greg Farrell will make some comments. We'll show you a brief film, and then we'll divide up into two groups so that the 7th and 8th grade families stay here and the high school families go to another location, which Greg will explain when he is at the podium. We'd love to have music at all of our events, and this is the first, since January, the first time we've had assemblies in here. So we had one this morning. Typically when we have an assembly right now, because of the restrictions on numbers, we have about half the school in here. And the way we've done the assemblies is that the advisory groups come in and then those that are not here watch the assembly virtually. And then we rotate the groups each week. So this morning at the program, we had some music from our orchestra, and we will now hear some music from our headmaster singers. This balcony area behind me has proved to be a good place in this new event center to have the music. And the music always kind of adds a dimension to programs like this, and I think it communicates that we value all the activities at school, particularly the music. Michael Calavito, who's up behind me, will lead our headmaster singers. So please join me in welcoming them.
Southward
I think we have a little smaller group tonight. I bet activities got in the way. I just came from a soccer game, so you'll hear in my comments that a lot of our students are involved with many different realms, and we think that's very critical. And we also appreciate, as I said, their singing, especially after, I'm sure you've had a busy day, and it's nice just to sit down and collect yourselves, and now we'll be focused on the topics at hand. So thank you very much. I have about 5 topics I want to discuss tonight, just to kind of reinforce some of the issues that you may have heard me talk about, or Greg or others talk about when we've had meetings with you during the admissions process. MBA has a good long history, over 150 years. This is the 154th year. I will say in complete honesty, as many of you have heard me mention before, I did not think about the school being a boys' school when I first interviewed for the job in 1994. And I've loved finding out about boys' schools. And I don't think that a school is better because it's a boys' school or a girls' school or a co-ed or a public or a private school. I think a school's culture is what really defines it and distinguishes such. But we do have a great history and tradition, and very few schools in our country have that continuous legacy that MBA has. We have a beautiful campus. In fact, we have 3 campuses. This particular campus at Harding Road has about 50 acres. This brand new building has been a blessing for us. It opened in January, and it provided a lot of great indoor space at the time of the year when it was colder, and the virus really called for having that indoor space and way to spread out on the campus. But it offers, I think, a good window into what the school's all about. You know, it's an athletic building. It is a sort of student center. It's a place to come. It's a place for all 820 students at MBA. It's not meant to sort of be anyone's domain. It's meant to be everyone's building. And we've been really grateful to have this on the campus. So we have about 10 buildings on this land of the 50 acres I mentioned. You'll find that almost all the buildings have been recently updated or rebuilt. So you are entering MBA at a time when you'll have great facilities. We have, as I said, 2 other campuses. We have 10 acres about 1.5 miles from here in Sylvan Park. And we have about 200 plus acres on a mountaintop that people like Greg Farrell love to go to, and our art classes and our teams. And in fact, our 7th grade, as Ms. Stewart will mention, is going up there this Friday. We're finally feeling like we can utilize a lot of this space after doing some other building up there. We built cabins, and we built a great pavilion, and we built yurts. And so we're excited to kind of expand the opportunities, the education, the curriculum for the students. The routines are pretty straightforward at MBA. Boys get here early, probably around 7 to 7:30. We've just opened the dining hall back up, so if you came early in the morning, you'd see a number of boys come and have breakfast, and we love to see that because they're coming to kind of begin their work, to see their friends, to set a sort of standard of routine and expectation for themselves each day. At 10 till 8 each day, we begin school with an advisory period, which is very important to me and I think to the community. It's a way to say we have these groups of small families of about 10 or so students with each teacher, and we know these boys really well. The system is vertical, so that in the junior school in 7th and 8th grade, you have 7th and 8th grade students together, and in the high school, you have 9th through 12th grade students. So there's a lot of education in that morning program. They learn about college applications from the seniors. They get a sense of what it's like to be a freshman and to make friends with the seniors. So those are really important times in the morning. And then students are here in classes. Typically a student has 5 or 6 classes, a lunch period, and 1 or 2 study halls, depending on whether he has 5 or 6 classes. The school day ends just after 3. And students are typically here until 5:30 to 6:30. I was just out at the soccer game, as I mentioned. That'll go on till about 7:30 or so, and so you'll see activity on the campus all the time. It's not an accident. The school, in a way, operates very much like a boarding school campus. I don't think it's accidental that the film Dead Poets Society, which was derived from MBA through the writings of Tom Schulman, is set in a boarding community. One of the things I really appreciate about the school is its sense of community, its balance, its involvement. You would have heard that if you were here this morning. Two of our seniors, Tanir and Michael, spoke about academics, but their comments were focused on the way they balanced their life at MBA, in Michael's case through lacrosse and studies, in Tanir's case through a lot of academic leadership. And Tanir spoke primarily, even though he's a very academic student, I teach him, I know him well, he got into Penn tonight. One of his classmates just wrote me a few minutes ago and said, this boy's already going to Penn. He said, did anyone else here? And I said, yes, 2 others. And so there's a sense of celebration among the boys for one another, and that's a really important characteristic. And that's what Tanir talked about this morning in his speech, was that brotherhood, that camaraderie, that sense of support. It's really great to see a guy like Tanir, who's involved with programs like mock trial and science, think more about brotherhood and relationships. The people at MBA are what is more important than these buildings, even more important than the history and traditions in most respects. Just a couple of weeks ago, I had an email from one of our great teachers, head of the language department, Daniel Paoliki. He said, good morning. I hope you are enjoying your Friday. As you may already know, William Myers has been working with our virtual ESL classes that I host every Tuesday and Thursdays from 7 to 8 p.m. for Nashville's adult immigrant community. He wrote to me last night following his lesson to share a breakthrough that he had with his adult student. I thought you would enjoy reading it, as it highlights the care that he puts into his lessons and the genuine relationship that he has developed with his adult student. He writes to Senor Paoliki, I am so pumped up right now. I was trying to teach SETI how to create infinitive forms of verbs in English and then turn those into sentences. She was struggling for almost the entire class, and I felt as if she just wasn't going to understand it. Then it all clicked. She figured it out, and it was the most amazing moment. My heart is still racing here 15 minutes later, and I'm still grinning from ear to ear. I must say, tonight's class was one of the best experiences I've ever had with the Spanish language. SETI even stopped to express her thanks because she feels that she can finally form English sentences. That was awesome. This morning, William was sitting right in front of me, and I asked him about this email. And it struck me, as it probably will you as well, that William also mentioned, that he's loved being on the hockey team, a team that won the state championship this year. But he said that I love even more the chance I have to tutor. And to hear a boy, open himself up like that, express these interests is what I hope your sons will see when they're at MBA, and that they'll have that vision and that balance and make our school and community a much better place. And as I often say, not just be 4 or 6 years of education, but be a lifetime, that they'll have the skills that William showed in this note and have the emotional intelligence to be a better man. So we're proud you're here. We hope you enjoy this quick program tonight. And I'm going to turn it over now to Greg Farrell. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. This is the part of the program every year, and then I think every year, and I was just talking to some parents a few minutes ago and realized, and Kit and I had been talking about this, we didn't get to have this program last year. We kept postponing, hoping that we could do it, and eventually May came around, and we felt like it was time we had to move on and get parents and students some information about what was coming up. So we did this virtually, and we, at that time, like all of us, I think, we didn't even know what that meant. I mean, Mark Artisan, who's up in the booth right now, you know, he's talked me through what the difference between live stream, which is what we have a lot of people doing tonight, and what a Zoom meeting is. And so that night we had an attempt at a Zoom with 300 or so parents, you know, representing about 150 boys, and it was great. The parents were fantastic, and you know, the students this year that came in have been great. But I can tell you this is much, much better, and I just love being here with everybody tonight and celebrating this. And it really does make a huge difference that we had a year off from that and are able to come back together. This is the part where I say, okay, what does the profile of your son's class look like? 161 new students at MBA. Your sons are coming in with 160 classmates or schoolmates. They represent 30 different zip codes. 44 schools are represented amongst those 161 students. 7 states, so 6 states outside the state of Tennessee. And we're so appreciative to families moving to Nashville from out of state, and I've really enjoyed getting to know some of them. Some I just made the trip from California tonight to be here tonight for this, and we have a lot visiting on this event on streaming, live stream tonight as well. 34 siblings, 31 sons of alumni, and I've looked around tonight and I've seen a lot of MBA alumni who will have their son come in here next year and are excited about that. Your sons have shown a tremendous interest in the arts, whether it's visual arts, music, theater, all of those pieces. It's been amazing. This year, for the first time, I put together just a little piece, and everybody who mentioned something about the arts and their application, and I put it together for the arts teachers in theater, visual arts, and music, whether it's chorus or orchestra or jazz band. And you wouldn't believe how big that document became that I eventually sent over to the arts department. It was amazing. Athletics, your sons are involved in just every kind of athletic endeavor and have found a way to really, be able to be a teammate and learn the importance of that, having someone lean on them, and they then in turn lean on someone else on a team. And we're appreciative of those athletics. In debate and mock trial, I've had more parents and students ask me about those endeavors at MBA, and we're really proud of that part of MBA. In academic competitions, and just academics in general, but academic competitions, whether it involves robotics or science Olympiad or math counts or anything like that, your sons are very, very interested in that. I could go on and on and on. I know you don't want me to, but it is amazing the depth and breadth of interest that your sons represent. So if you get anything out of tonight, I've told several parents you're probably going to get a little bit of an information overload tonight, but we got a lot of time to sort that out, and I'm going to come back up in a minute after a film and talk a little bit about that too. But if you get anything out of this tonight, I hope from Mr. Joya's talk a few moments ago to a film that you're going to see momentarily, that you get the idea that there are lots and lots and lots of opportunities here for your son. And we want them to stretch, and we want them to try new things and take advantage of those opportunities that this school affords. So I am going to show a film here in just a moment that is just a clip that Barry McAllister has put together. He does a lot of our film work here at MBA, and it's just a small wedge of the pie that took place from January through March of this year. And remember, we're in a pandemic, right? and you're going to see things that took place January through March here at MBA. And this is, I mean, he could have made this video an hour long, and I said, you got to keep it to 5 minutes. And so you're going to see a lot of clips going by. And you're going to see things like what Mr. Joya mentioned, our assemblies, concerts like Chalophony that we just had recently, gatherings. We've just had a couple of, Robert Sawyer has led a couple of father-son campouts up at our Long Mountain campus. We've got a mother-son breakfast coming up next week, but father-son dinner here just a week or so ago. Theater, plays in the high school, in the junior school. You're going to see a wild thing that we do right after spring break every year. Everybody comes back sunburned, and we have field day immediately, and it's a lot of fun. And you'll see the Cardinal flag flying out at the field when you leave. That means Cardinal won this year's field day. You're going to see clips from our basketball state championship as well. We're very, very proud of those guys in basketball this year, and it's our first state championship in basketball since 2010. So I want to turn this over and let Mark show you this video, and then I'm going to come back and talk about what we're going to do the rest of the evening. Thanks, Mark.
Center is getting an amazing young man whom I am proud of, and he is going to represent NBA well. Mark, congratulations and good luck on your journey at center.
Thank you, triumvirate. But if you fail to prove yourself innocent of sorcery, you shall die horribly. Then I'll certainly try my best. But I need Severe and Lester to play their parts.
Over time and pain, he grew and he did learn right from wrong. His worst day had happened, and he survived it.
What ensues is a 24/7 bombardment of political propaganda that is targeted at someone just like you. And they try to get away with it.
So they asked me, we had advised them on an M&A transaction and acquisition in Atlanta.
There's different companies actually putting the work in place.
And that words cannot truly describe how important a strong relationship with a father is to any boy.
I came home in a state I can only compare to shell shock, and told my dad, nearly breaking down into tears, that I would never be able to memorize this list.
Dumplings around those times, and there's like a holiday called Duanwujie. It's like dragon boat racing.
So we respect the kind of dead year system, and we come to get together, and then we celebrate the family reunion.
I'm a little bit different from Jason because I was born in China. I grew up in China. I finished my education in China.
Do you know exactly where it is? No, please tell me. Do you know? A man's life is at stake here. Do you know where the bed is?
So, like I said, I hope you got an idea of just a few of the many, many opportunities here. This morning I was thinking about what do I want for breakfast, and thought, oh, I'm going to have some toast with some honey on it. And I went to the pantry, and there was a jar of MBA honey that the beekeeping club at MBA put together and sold for money for a charity and everything. So, you know, from beekeeping club to anything that, I mean, you can just go through the whole list of over 60 different clubs here. Lots of opportunities for your son. So hopefully you're going to start learning more about that tonight and getting some great information from some folks as we kind of move to the next phase of this. Some last kind of items, some housekeeping items from me. In the next few days, you're going to receive a couple of letters in the mail. The first one of those is going to be from Mark Artisan, our Director of Technology here at MBA. That letter is going to be addressed to your son. It's going to have instructions for your son about setting up his MBA email account and logging on to Scholar. Now, not going to be much for him to see on Scholar right now because we don't have any real homework for him yet to be graded, but he can log on and see how that Scholar is going to be set up, but he also is going to be able to log on to his email account. A word about this, please let your son take care of this. It's a great way for him to start taking ownership of his MBA experience right now. So if he needs help, help him, but let him take the initiative on this part. A second thing you're going to get is from Kit Lecklider, and it is a padded manila envelope, and it is also going to be addressed to your son. It actually does have your son's first assignment, and that assignment you're going to read about. It's what's called a hopes and dreams letter, and so I want you to read through that with your son. And there's also a welcome letter in there, and then there's also a small gift from MBA that will welcome him as a member of his class at MBA. So look for those two things in the next few days. I think the letter from Mr. Artisan is going to go out in the mail in the next day or two, and the manila envelope went out today. So watch for those. In a week or so, if you don't have them, give us a shout. Lastly, and Mr. Joya stole my thunder because he's been talking to Ms. Lecklider about this. I really do want to thank you all for everything you did this year, from when we were trying to schedule shadow days, when we were trying to schedule tours, when we were trying to schedule events. You all have been great sports about it. And when we've had to call 2 days before a shadow day and say, hey, we've had kind of an uptick, and we need to postpone that for a few weeks, you went right along with it. So thank you so much. It helped us help you get to know more about MBA, and we really do appreciate your flexibility with all of that this year. Now, for the plan. And so I'm talking to everybody in this room, and I'm also talking to the folks who are watching this via live stream. For everyone, the Big Red store is going to be open again tonight when we all finish. And so it's located right over on the other side of this lobby. If you'd like to go purchase something, stock up on gear. If you'd like to get home, though, you've got plenty of other opportunities to visit the Big Red store anytime. And then I've also sent a link to the online store, and that's a great way to take a look at and purchase some things that you want as well. The Mothers Club is also in charge of our Blazers and More sale, and we have our first Blazers and More sale of the spring coming up next week on April 13th. I guess that's a week from today, maybe. And that is a fantastic way to come over to MBA and buy a blue blazer. All the boys at school today wore a blue blazer and a tie for our cum laude inductions. It's about 6 times a year they'll wear a coat and tie to school. And you all know they are growing quickly right now. And so instead of going someplace and dropping $250, $300 on a blue blazer that in 3 months is going to look like this, you can come over here and buy blazers and more, khakis, button-downs, polos, things like that that have been sent back to the school that are used, and you're able to get it at a much, much reduced price. That's going to take place right after our mother-son breakfast on next Tuesday on the 13th, so I assume that's probably around 10 a.m., and will run to about 1 p.m. I have included a link to that in the last couple of Thursday emails to everyone, and I'll include it on this Thursday's email as well. That takes me to something else. This tonight is kind of our first event that's kind of turning you over from admissions over to the school, but we are still a liaison for you. And you'll still continue to receive emails from me each Thursday as teachers, coaches, staff members let us know of things that you might be interested in learning about MBA or that your son needs to know more about. We'll continue to send that out to you. But you'll also start getting emails from those folks as well. But make sure that you just let us know if you've got any questions. We're still here for you and can direct you to the right place.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Fran Stewart, and I am the director of the junior school. Mr. Joya also likes to make sure that everybody knows that we also teach, and so I teach a math class here. It's my 11th year at MBA, and it's my 49th year in junior school. And so it's a place and a group that I dearly love, and I never get tired of the adventures of the junior school boy, okay? How many of you are here tonight with your oldest and your first time entering the travails of junior school, okay? How many are new, okay? Okay, look around, just keep your hands up. This is gonna be your group, you know, your support group here, okay? Now, how many of you are second and third time around? A few people. Okay, now look to those people. You're going to want to get to know them. Seriously, tonight we're all going to begin, I hope, a 6-year journey that's just going to be wonderful. And for the first 2 years, we're going to be attached really closely because the next 2 years are going to be exciting. That sweet little boy that you left at home that might actually hug you some and doesn't smell too bad is going to change, okay? And it will be surprising, and it will be disconcerting, and it will be baffling, and it will be infuriating sometime, but they all come out in the end. And they're absolute angels at school, so it's only going to be at your house, okay? So, and I say that because I want you to feel that that we're all part of this journey together. MBA has a very foundational approach to their curriculum. So in the 7th and 8th grade, we're learning a lot of tools. And in 7th and 8th grade, we've got a lot of things to learn, and sometimes you learn best by making mistakes, and we want that to be okay too. So, first of all, I want you to just relax tonight. That the journey of getting here is over. I have read and reread every application and every piece of paper your son has sent, and I know that they're going to be just fine here. And we just want to get you started. The lowest point that I had this year and as we dealt with the pandemic happened in February. And you will get to know, I hope, that I really love my parents and I'd like you to be on campus and I'd like to be involved with you. I'd like to be accessible to you, and so I couldn't have my monthly parent connections meetings, and so we were Zooming them. And so the February meeting came, and I just about broke down in tears. And I said, I just miss you. I am so tired of seeing little squares and not knowing my parents. I said, so when you feel comfortable, come and have coffee with me. And so they did. So I extend that invitation to you at the front, is that I'm usually here at 7 in the morning. I usually go home 5 or so. If I'm not in the office, I'm at some event at MBA. But please, after tonight, know that you can email, or you can call, you can ask questions. You're going to get a lot of information tonight. And you've already heard, well, this email's coming and that letter's coming and all of that. And we've given you a big piece of, a big envelope, a big folder tonight. And I know that you're sitting there thinking, where on earth do I start with all of this? So we're just going to start with a deep breath. For about 10 minutes, I'm going to walk you through the highlights. Tomorrow, the next day, you're actually going to get a video that's going to explain in detail the class registration process. So you do not have to memorize everything tonight. If you get home and you're totally confused about everything, you can call me tomorrow and say, I'm totally confused. Can you say it again? And I'll say certainly, okay? So we're going to start. And this is kind of our agenda for tonight. And at the end, Mr. Mark Tips is down front here, is going to talk to you about our athletic program. And I would hope that everybody tonight can just relax and have an open mind and kind of buy into this journey for the next 2 years, because it really is an exciting one. And you've already seen some things that happen here at MBA, and every year our boys add something different, and your son will be one of those boys next year. So in the packet, you have 2 sides, and on the left side, there's all kinds of information about athletics. It's got the information about physicals. It talks about the kinds of teams we have and when we have those teams. And Mr. Tips will be referring to those. On the right side is more of the other academic information. And it starts off with a class list, so you can see who the other classmates are in the class of 2027. That's hard to say, and also our new students in 2026. So just kind of use that as a reference point. Then I just wanted to give you just a brief overview of kind of how to get started and some of the things that anytime you transition, just like to a new job, to a new school, there's sort of different things that we hang our hat on. And I wanted to make sure that we kind of got you off in the right direction as to the things that really matter here at MBA, just from a routine kind of standpoint. The course assignments I will touch on briefly because, like I said, we have a really nice video that will come to you. You can keep it, you can watch it. The lady that you met at the table this evening is Miss Hindle, Jennifer Hindle. She is my assistant, and she sits in the front office. And she is also an incredible resource on things about course assignment or just anything that's going on at school as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about what you might want to do for the summer and what some of the options are here at MBA. We do like to travel, and next year we will resume our travel. Mr. Joya referenced that we're going to Long Mountain. I looked at our boys, because we've had to cancel so many things or mitigate it, and I said, we just got to get out of here. So we're going to load up all the 7th graders on Friday, and we're going to drive to Long Mountain for the day, and we're going to do nothing but play. We're going to hike, we're going to do kickball, we're going to do basketball, we're going to have chicken tenders and macaroni and cheese for lunch, and we're just going to have a good time together, and then we're going to come back to campus and be back for the afternoon activities, and we're going to repeat that again the following week with the 8th grade. So we do like to get out and about. So in starting with MBA 101, the website is your friend, okay? And so if you have not gone to the website other than your admissions pieces, please start going there and start reviewing the calendar. The calendar will not necessarily match up with your previous schools, so look at that. Particularly look at those things that you've always done. Well, I've always gone skiing the 3rd week in January, and Aunt Matilda's going to be 90 in April. So go ahead and kind of look at the MBA calendar. There are no down days at MBA, so I'm not saying we don't ever let you out of school, but do get familiar with it. There will be some things this summer, but our first official gathering is going to be August 13th when we register. And then in 7th grade, on August 16th, we're going to go back to Long Mountain with the class of 2026 for a day, for an expanded day up there. We're going to get the canoes out and do some other things, get the ropes out, and we're going to do some high ropes, but we're going to start building a class. As you heard, there is no geographic or zip code or school dominance in this class. It's a really nice mixture. So we spend a lot of time bringing all those pieces together and forming a class in the earlier weeks. So go to the MBA website and play around, okay? The funny thing you're gonna see is all the summer programs are listed under camps, okay? But if you go under academics, you're gonna see opening school information, and that's where we're gonna store all the information and the forms and just a lot of this information you're hearing tonight. So get familiar with that. Also in your packet tonight, as well as on the website, there's all the information about your immunizations and physicals, and I'm sure Mr. Tibbs will talk a little bit more about that. Attendance. Very few students are absent from MBA. And I guess this would be a good time just again say, our boys did such a wonderful job this year with the mitigations. Every day is a full day. We'd like to think that every day is a pretty good day. And so we certainly want them to stay home when they're sick and things like that, but attendance is important. And so you'll see some things in our handbook, and that's also on the website, that talks about days that you just cannot have an excused absence. And those are typically before or after a school break, okay? And just get familiar with the attendance policies because it might be different than where your school was before. And I know that some schools have instituted things like, oh, well, you can just take 2 or 3 days off during the school year and that's okay. Well, that doesn't really work very well at MBA. They get behind. And so look at the attendance. Technology. If we had had this meeting, and when we did have it online a year ago, what I said was you didn't need computers. Well, the world changed, okay? Your son, and we'll talk about this a little more in supplies, but one of the things that we still try to use it in a very responsible way. We ask them to turn their cell phones off at the beginning of the day and turn them back on at the end of the day, which means we have to train parents not to text during the day. Just telling you, okay? But they will need access in 7th and 8th grade to a simple tablet or Chromebook, okay? Don't buy them the big laptop yet, okay? They'll need that in high school, and that's when, because if you buy it now, you're gonna have to buy it again in high school. So just a simple Chromebook or tablet will work fine, okay? They won't need it every day, but they'll need it several days. And if you prefer not to buy one, then just have one that they can use when they need to. So that's just up front. And then we're going to talk about our classes. Mr. Joya has already talked about that. In your packet, you have some information about the typical school day and what that looks like, and I'll touch base on that too. So the first big thing is your first test, okay? Your boys are smart, okay? Nobody doubts that. But we want to start them in the very best place so that we can fill in, particularly in math and science, not hold them back, not hold one group back while the other one moves forward in a different way. It's not really not back, it's just the math. So in math, we have our own placement test. And so you do not have to take a placement test, and there's information in your folder about that. But if you do not take the placement test, we're going to put you, your son is going to be in pre-algebra in the 7th grade, okay? If your son is coming into the 8th grade, we'll have to look at where they were last year, and we will talk about that individually. And then, once we look at the test, we will make recommendations of whether they start in pre-algebra, pre-algebra honors, or Algebra 1. Very few boys start in Algebra 1, 10 to 15. Probably another 20 or so will start in pre-algebra honors, and the rest will be in pre-algebra. It has nothing to do with the quality of your gene pool. It will not matter to Harvard, where they started. It's just getting them off to a really good start, okay? And so there are some placement test days listed in your book, in your folder. You will call and schedule a time. If none of those times work for you, we will work with you to find another time and place. Science does the things a little bit differently. So they look at all of the IC scores and the grades, and they have a magic scientific formula that they use in a Ouija board, I think, but it's really, they think it's numerical. And so some of your sons will be invited to start in IPS honors, okay? And some of you just got a stomach pain when you heard IPS, didn't you? Because you've heard that it's really hard. Well, it's different, but it's not impossible, okay? So you will get a note from from Travis Barkley, who's the chair of the science department, and he will tell you that your son is being invited into IPS honors. This, when all is said and done, is about math skills, okay? And so they're going to look at those math and reading skills, and in the regular classes, they'll do that one way, and in the honors classes, they'll do it another way. Again, it's a starting point. It is not an ending point. It is not a predictor of anything other than this is where they need to start, okay? So, some of you will say, well, my son is in algebra now. Well, algebra comes in a lot of names and times and places. So we teach what we call algebra and a sequence there, and so we want to make sure that they are ready for what we call our algebra and geometry and algebra 2 and so forth, okay? So it's nothing to be worried about. Your son will tell you if they want to try it, and we'll certainly work with you on that. In the junior school classes, we have 8 periods. We have 5 core classes in the 7th grade. Well, we have 5 core classes in the 8th too. In the 7th grade, we have 2 English classes. One of them is English and literature, and the other one is grammar vocabulary. Then we have the math class, we have IPS, and we have Roots of American History. And then we have 1 period for lunch. And then we have 2 periods, one of which will be for the visual and performing arts, and the other one will be for a study hall, okay? And so that's the way the day is going to run. In 7th grade, we have a quarter system, and this will be explained really concisely on the video, but they will have 1 quarter of computer, which is required but could be taken in the summer, 1 quarter of fitness, and 2 quarters of either music or theater or speech. And then they could also go on another track, which is music. And so if they're in music, they will have music all year long. And the music includes the jazz band, the singers, and the orchestra, okay? So there's a graph inside your folder that goes through that. We will also send a video out tomorrow that details it very specifically and how you make your choices. You will also find in your packet a very detailed schedule from our music department of when they're having tryouts and which areas, what they're looking for in each of those areas. And you have the contact information there as well. 8th grade, we go by semesters in the performing arts. And so we have 1 semester of research and communications, and this is a class that can be taken in the summer, and that frees up some time during the school year. You can have 2 semesters of the visual and performing arts, and those choices are theater and art, or whatever music class that you're taking, which goes for a year. So you've got really 2 strands, okay? So they don't cross over, we don't cross streams yet. So you're either in the band, the music area, or you're in the visual and performing arts, the visual arts, including in this case, art and theater, okay? When we started this, the boys said, in the 8th grade, you're gonna make me take theater? And we said, yes. And they said, well, I'm just gonna sit there. I said, okay. And they love it. They absolutely love it. And so this is a great choice for them to have. Again, this is just skimming the top here. You have a graph in your packet, and you'll also get a video tomorrow. And that's what I'm talking about there, the video guide tomorrow. Okay. This is relative, and we got into, trying to please all people is hard, impossible. I know that you want to get all of your supplies together and, tax-free holidays and sales and stuff, and this will be on the webpage, but I just wanted to bring it up now. A pencil pouch is good to have. A collection of red, green, blue, and black pens. Pencils, number 2, mechanical is okay. Notebook paper, it can be regular or college rule. Like I said, a regular access to a tablet or Chromebook. They will need a scientific calculator. Do not get them a graphing calculator. They're not ready for graphing. Just get them a scientific calculator. I'd hold off on the binders. If I can ever solve the dilemma between the 1-inch and the 2-inch, I'm going to go for world peace next, okay? So we have some classes that just have to have a 1-inch and some that just have to have a 2-inch. So I would hold off on that. But the 2 things you probably want to hear are in red are they need a scientific calculator, not a graphing calculator, and a simple tablet or Chromebook. So don't get them a high-end Apple or Dell or whatever, because you're going to need to spend that money in high school. That's when they're going to need them, okay? So I hope that helps. Planning for summer, I mentioned earlier, go to the Mba Summer Classes, and that's under camps. And Mr. Farrell and I have put together some recommendations for you for the summer, and you may have already received that. The other thing, the co-ed programs, some have a cost, but it's fairly moderate. These are like jumpstart classes. And so you'll see that they're in study skills, they're in writing, they're in organization, they're in math. So, and then read. One of the things that is becoming a fairly significant challenge is keeping our boys reading. Now, some of your sons read voraciously. You can't keep a book out of their hand. And some of them will happily tell you they've never read a book in their life, okay? They've looked at the question, searched for the answer, and they've been finished, okay? So if you can, kind of encourage a lot of reading. I don't care what kind it is, let's just read, okay? Because we're gonna read a lot here. The all-school read, I wanted to bring this up today. Every year we have an all-school read, and it's for 7th through 12th grade, and we all read it. All the teachers read it, all the staff read it, we all read it. This year, the all-school read is Just Mercy, okay? And it's a really good book. It is, there are some parts, and I would suggest you look at this first, that are difficult, okay? And this book comes in an abridged and an unabridged version, and certainly our boys can use the abridged version in junior school, okay? It's a really great book. You can tell from the program we had earlier some of the things we talk about at school, but I would love for you I encourage you to take time to look at this book yourself. There are a lot of reviews on it, and your son can choose either the unabridged or the abridged version. Just Mercy. Long Mountain is a wonderful place. That's our observatory. It is supposed to be the best in the Southeast. It looks like a spaceship, and when it lights up at night, it really looks like a spaceship. The top opens, we have the telescopes, and we will, sometime over the next year, we will use that. When we go up on August 16th, we're just going to get to know each other. We're going to get dirty, we're going to get sweaty, and we're going to play. We're going to fish, we're going to canoe, we're going to eat again, and we're just going to have a good time. And that's August 16th, and that will be a long day. You'll get all these details, but we'll start about 7:30 in the morning, and I'll probably get them home about 9 o'clock at night, okay? Just in time for you to dust them off and put them to bed, okay? Then we're going to turn around and go to Mentone, Alabama. And this is in the mountains there, and we'll spend 3 days up there in cabins. And what we like to say is, whoever we are when we go up that mountain, when we come down, we're a class. And so we'll have a great 3 days on the mountains doing leadership skills. We'll do high ropes. We'll ford rivers. We'll just have a good time together. We'll have our epic battle ball tournaments at night. And so it will be a good time on the mountains to solidify our class. We have a group from Higher Ground that guides our activities, and they're excellent. And we're looking forward to that time. If you're in the 8th grade, if you're rising in the 8th grade, we celebrate finishing junior school, and we take off to Atlanta. That at least is the plan now, okay? And we do nothing but play. And so in April, whenever and if the Braves have a schedule next year, we will head off to Atlanta and play and celebrate with the 8th grade as they finish their time in junior school. I am the director, as I said. Jennifer Hendel is in the front office. Patrick Simpson is our head wrestling coach. He's also our junior school dean of students, and he will be a really good resource for your boys. The class sponsor of the class of 2027 is Mr. Wims, and we meet once a month with each of our classes. Chris Spiegel is our class sponsor for the class of 2026, and then we have Emmett Russell and Roderick Russ, who are on our discipline committees. And so that group forms our leadership team for the junior school. I wanted to close just by reiterating what a really nice evening this is. It's been like Christmas around here today. We've been almost giddy with the excitement. To add to the event, I just went downstairs, and I know you won't understand this, but this is a sparkling new building, and I went down a few minutes ago, and there were a few socks on the floor, and there was kind of a whiff of sweat in the air. It just felt like home, okay? And so having you here sitting in the seats and raring to go feels like home. And so anything that we can do to make you comfortable, to make you understand, to help guide your way through these next 2 years, we are happy to do that. We will love and adore and care for your sons. I will always be honest with you, okay? I'm not afraid to have the hard conversations. And we will get through this together. Haven't lost one yet, and don't intend to start with this class, okay? But I'm here, so feel free to email me, call the school, and I'm really, really looking forward to getting to know you and starting this journey with you tonight. And now Mr. Tips is our athletic director, and he is going to close us out tonight talking about athletics in general and junior school athletics in particular.
Good evening. I think I'm the only thing standing between you and the door, so I'm going to try to go as quickly as I can. But my job is to tell you a little bit about athletics here at MBA. First of all, my name is Mark Tips. My background, this is my 6th year here. Before that, I practiced law here in Nashville for 30 years and was in politics in Washington for a while. After doing that for 30 years, I decided I wanted to do something that I thought was more meaningful. And I began to think about the things that were meaningful to me as I grew up and the people who had the most impact on my life. And I thought about people who were my high school teachers, my high school coaches, my college coaches, and I decided maybe this would be a good thing to do. It gives me an opportunity to mold young men and to do something that I think endures. All of the lawsuits I ever tried and all the other things I ever did in another life probably don't endure, but the relationships that we have with your boys and with these young men as they grow up, those are the things that endure. The motto of this school is Gentleman, Scholar, Athlete, and it's in that order for a purpose. It is because athletics comes last, and we understand that. It's important to us, but it is absolutely in that order. We care about championships. We actually won 3 this past winter. We won the basketball championship, we won the hockey championship, and we won a state championship in rifle. But championships are not the most important thing, and they're not the thing that define our athletics program. What we're way more concerned about is building community and building mutual respect among these boys and teaching these kids that everything they do has value. The kid who's the quarterback on the football team is no more valuable than the guy who's in the play or the guy who plays the trombone or the guy who's on the robotics team. That's one thing I really like about this school. It's very different from when I grew up decades and decades ago, and I went to a large public high school in St. Paul, Minnesota, and it was not that way. But that's one of the things that we teach, and I love going to a state championship basketball game and seeing all the boys there supporting their friends, and then when there's a play, the guys on the basketball team are at the play or at a concert supporting their friends. So teaching these boys that everyone in this class has value is the most important thing we do when it comes to athletics. We offer a lot of sports. Some of them were invented after I graduated from high school. I can't keep track of all of them, but just a list would be bowling, crew, cross country, football, hockey, rifle, tennis, soccer, swimming, wrestling, basketball, baseball, golf, track, lacrosse, ultimate frisbee, and intramurals. So there's a lot to choose from. And we also have things that aren't sports per se, robotics, debate, math competitions. And those are some things that some of our boys get involved in as well. We encourage them to be involved in something every season, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a sport. Most of our kids play sports, and most of them play multiple sports. But we understand that for some kids, there are other things they want to do, and that's fine. At the junior school level, I want to talk to you candidly about a few things having to do with athletics. I raised 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son. My son graduated from here in 2015. He went on to Middlebury College, played baseball, graduated 2 years ago, and will start medical school this fall. I want you to be careful as parents about funneling your children too early into one sport. And this is something that's happening in a massive way across the country. And it's parents and it's coaches at the AAU level, the travel level, these select teams, those kinds of things that are telling boys you're going to be the next greatest thing in X sport. And they come even in 7th grade, and that's what they believe. And for some of them, it doesn't work out. And that is a really hard pill to swallow if that's what they've been told by dad, and yes, it is usually us dads, for all these years, that this is what you're going to star in. Be very careful of that. I've seen so many kids at this school who started off going to be God's gift to basketball and ended up doing something else. Let them explore. Let them participate in other sports and let them fail. The best way that you can build resiliency, a resilient child, a kid who, when he leaves your home, which will come faster than you can imagine, can handle things is by failure. I have seen boys that showed up here, and I can think of a boy that was one of my son's best friends at Oak Hill School, and he was going to be a baseball player, and he played in 7th and 8th grade, and then he got cut. He eventually found his way to cross country, and he was all-state in cross country. There is a boy who came here many years ago who was bound and determined to be a basketball player. He ended up being a state champion heavyweight wrestler. I saw my own son's travels through this place. He wrestled for 3 years because he didn't play basketball and he needed to do something in the winter. When he got to the point where he had to choose between, okay, am I going to play football, baseball, or wrestle, he chose football and baseball. But he would tell you to this day that the 3 years he spent wrestling taught him more about physical and mental toughness than anything he has ever encountered since then. So there's lots to learn by playing different sports, even if it's not a sport your son ends up excelling in. So I would encourage you, I know many of you have boys, and at the end of every one of these programs, somebody comes up to me and they go, God, I really loved what you said about that. Now, my son, though, is really special in this one sport. So I know that they all are. Mine was too. Trust me on this. Let them participate in some other sports. Let them learn to fail. Let them fall on their face a few times, okay? Last couple of things. We are not wild about AAU travel teams and select teams during the school year. I know many of you are going to participate. Your sons are going to participate on them. If they conflict with NBA sports, the NBA sport has to come first. And we will cooperate with you. We ask you to just notify us, let us know what the situation is. We'll make sure that that sports coach here knows about it. We'll work with you. We will make things work. But we ask you to use a rule of reason there. There's a reason that we want NBA sports to come first, and there's a handful of them. Number one is what I just talked about, funneling. When you show me the boy who's got to play this AAU team or he's got to play on this select team, it's usually because he's already been funneled into this one sport. And that is a dangerous thing. One of the reasons it's dangerous, you can read a University of Wisconsin study, but the chances of burnout and repetitive stress injuries in kids who are playing one sport, starting young and playing that all the time, is about 40 or 50% higher than kids who play multiple sports. A third reason that we kind of have this gentle reminder / hope for you when it comes to travel teams is that, again, one of the things we're trying to build here is community and a sense of team. And so if you show me a boy whose parents are saying he needs to really go out and do this and work with this coach and do this, can he be excused from NBA? He's not spending time with NBA students. He's not building that sense of community. He's not building a sense of team here. And we want him to have that experience. And the last reason, and maybe the most important, is I have watched over the last few decades. I started coaching my son in baseball when he was a little boy. More and more of sports is about me, me, me. I just came from one of our varsity, I coach varsity baseball. I should also say, in addition to being the athletics director, I teach American government and economics. I just came from one of our games. More and more kids are more interested in their performance than they are on what happens to the team. It's all about me. And when you come to here and say, I want my son to play on this team, and so the rules you have don't apply to him, that's enforcing me, me, me. And the problem with that is you're building expectations that are going to get dashed. I will never forget seeing somewhere online an advertisement about a travel baseball team. And the coach basically was saying, you must sign up for this team. It was a 10 and under baseball team. And the coach said, if you want your son to play at the next level, this is the team to be on. And it just kind of occurred to me, what the heck is the next level if you're 10 years old? Isn't it being 11 years old? But we've gone crazy with all this stuff. And the expectations are so high, and everybody's kid is going to get a scholarship and go play Division I sports. And let me tell you the dirty little secret. In the 6 years I've been here, I can probably count on one hand the number of boys who have signed a grant in aid to play at a Division I school and received money to do it. This year, we will have over 20 boys in our senior class go play sports in college. The vast majority of them will play at the Division III level at really high academic schools. I've got kids playing at places like MIT and Middlebury and Wesleyan and Hamilton and Rhodes and Center and Kenyon and other colleges that are dot the top 10, 15, 20 in the U.S. News and World Report rankings. But not that many are playing major college. So the expectation that you set for your child is really hard for them to be able to hit. Because the reality is very few people, probably 1%, will play at a Division I level. So we ask you just, again, to use a rule of reason, to work with us on this. We will find a way for your son to play on those teams, but also be a part of the MBA program as well. Last couple of things. We do have cut sports, sports where there's a tryout and a cut. And in past years, I haven't gone into this, but this past year, we had a record number of boys who tried out for lacrosse. And in the 8th grade alone, we had about 24 boys who did not make it. And there were some very upset parents and some young men who were also very upset. So I want you to understand that we do have a lot of sports that have no cuts, but there are sports like, I'll give you an idea of them, tennis and golf, soccer, basketball, baseball, and lacrosse are cut sports. So there is no guarantee your son will be on that sport, will make that team. And one of the most difficult meetings I have is with the parent who's told their son since they were this high, you're a great basketball player, you're going to be a basketball player. You're a great baseball player, you're going to be a baseball player. And the kid doesn't make the team in 7th or 8th grade. So begin to think about that now and make sure you understand that there are other things for them to do. I have seen so many boys go on and they failed at something that ended with ball, football, basketball, baseball, but they went on to the crew team, which is all about heart and technique, and they fell in love with it, and they did awesome, and some of them have ridden that to some incredible schools, Ivy League schools. So the opportunities are there, but they may not be the opportunities that you have decided ahead of time are the ones for your child. Bottom line, we have an open door policy in the athletics department. I am available anytime. If you want to call and talk to me, if you want to come by and visit with me before your son gets here, that's fine. And every year I have several who will take me up on that. They'll say, you know, I heard all that. I want to talk to you about X, Y, or Z. That's perfectly fine. Please feel free to reach out and call me, email me. I'll meet with you, talk to you by phone. I'm happy to do so. That's why we're here. I'm excited that you're here. I'm excited for your boys. This is a great place. It will prepare them for the next chapter of their life, and it will do so really well. I can promise you that. And we're excited to have you. Thank you.
The Big Red Store is still open, and hope you feel welcome. Hope you got a lot of information. I hope you know that Mark and I and Kit and Greg are all available. If you get an email from MBA, open it. If you get something addressed to your son in the U.S. mail, do not open it. Let your son do that, okay? Have a good evening. Welcome to MBA.